So like
all these other
so
three-letter
like
agency guys.
celebrity and Hollywood related that's another part too, right? That kind of fits into it.
That's 100%. That's the organization. A bunch of spoofs, a bunch of shills.
Today's show is brought to you by NordVPN. Make sure to go over and check it out. Use that special code Marfoogle to get a huge discount and support the show. All right. Nothing in this show should be considered legal, medical, or financial advice. The views of the callers can differ considerably and do not necessarily reflect the opinions of myself, Dex, or anyone else with the show. Just make sure that you do your own research and consult with professionals. The internet is full of fake news, so please take everything with a grain of salt. All right, we have caller...
Hello?
Caller Shane, you are live. First-time caller from Illinois.
Hey, what's going on, Marfoogle fam? And Marf, thank you so much, man, for everything that you guys are doing. You're so spot on.
Well, hey, thanks for calling in. So you wanted to talk about the coming report that's going to Congress?
No, I actually wanted to talk about Luizondo and maybe the coming FF that's probably underway and what's going to happen in the next few months and where that leads. We've been talking about Project BB for 15 years and it seems like everything that they're talking about right now is exactly what was in that agenda. So for those that are unaware that this up in the sky effect that's getting ready to take place, and with everything else that's been leading up to this point on the ground in our reality, it prompts me to ask the question, what happens then? So speaking kind of based on Dex and I's conversation, I'd like to speak more freely, but obviously I can't. Do you understand where I'm going with that?
Well, yeah, Fantastic Freddy is what we call an FF, and that's the thing. If you use that page we sent you, everybody in this audience will understand exactly what you're talking about. Now, as far as Project Bluebeam, I think we can say that. Bluebeam,
okay.
Do you think that that's still relevant now? Because when we talked about that 15 years ago, that kind of technology was really crazy. Now it seems like there would even be different technology that could do the same thing. I don't know if
absolutely.
I don't know if the Project Bluebeam is even still what would happen.
Well, that's precisely the point, and it's much more sinister than that. I think it's as simple as the individual minds. They've got us in such a conundrum right now mentally. When I just look out and have regular conversation with people, I come home and I'm blown away. I got to go to the punching bag. It's unbelievable the mindset and the belief structure that people are acceptable. This is perfectly acceptable, and this is my reality. But those that are that are aware, we see things coming down the pike, and then even worse so, we start to overlap those and see how this previous education system that not many of us went through back in the day when things were so readily available to the masses before the cancel culture. All right. So those that are listening that have just been awoke for 5 years, you're completely clueless. And I don't mean that as a stab. I mean that as the truth. The things in 2005, 2006, 7, especially 8, when people realized that YouTube was a viable source to spread truth, those were years that we'll never get back in this current reality. And those were, if you were awake then, those were the downloads. Sorry, that was the truth. And everything else since that time period, and I didn't call in to talk about this. Sorry, Marf. But this is really important. That's when these three-letter agencies really ramped up to that's when the psyops started to happen. I don't know if I can say that word, but I don't know how old you are. I'm a new person to your channel, but I love what you're doing, and you're one of the last bastions. Dex is incredible. Keep him on board. You know, this is. But let's get to the point. Luis Elizondo, to the Stars Academy, more than 70% of the board are thriller agency spoofs, documented. So what happens next? So they came out really hard in 2017. What do you think happens next?
Well,
what was their plan?
No, let me ask you this: Why did Mr. Humility that wasn't you, was it? That's not your screen name, is it?
No, I'm.
Why did somebody, Mr. Humility, commented, did a super chat that said Lou Elizondo is a shill? I don't know enough about him to know why people would say that.
I heard that.
Why would he say that?
Absolutely he is. Do you want me to break it down? Yeah, Lou Elizondo worked for the Department of Defense. He said that he worked directly for James Clapper, there are so many things that he has said early on. Let's get to the Stars Academy, TTSA. That's who Lou Elizondo now currently has made his public appearances officially working for. He's a CIA spoof. He really is. He is a shill. Now that TTSA is $50 million in debt, they immediately raised $50 million, and they immediately claimed the next following year, within 7 months, that they were $50 million in debt. Where did the money go? Tom DeLonge is a former Blink-182 band member. That's the organizer of TTSA. And then he hired Lou Elizondo, and Lou said, let me bring all these other guys in.
So like
agency guys,
celebrity and Hollywood related, that's another part too, right? That kind of fits into it.
That's 100%. That's the organization. A bunch of spoofs, a bunch of shills. Can I drop another YouTube channel that's nothing near what you do, but
go ahead.
A fan? All right,
we'll share it.
The Dark Journalist. The Dark Journalist. If you go into the Dark Journalist last. Maybe 2 podcasts ago, it's a great drop on TTSA, and he's been dropping stuff since the first press release, because the Dark Journalist goes into the X series of the UFO files, the cover-up thereof, going back to JFK and when to release, all of these deep documented files that have slowly been coming out. So if you want to learn more about TTSA, Tom DeLonge, look into the Dark Journalist, because he drops a lot of factual, to-the-point documents.
So what we did is, again, I pulled up his channel, and what we'll do is we'll link him under your call. If people want to find information on Shane and then the person he just suggested, just go to marfooglenews.com, and at the very bottom of the page, it's actually updated live. It shouldn't be there yet. But about 5 minutes after he ends the call, Dex goes in and actually adds Shane, and then any suggestions, articles, videos that he suggests. So the Dark Journalist will be there. Everybody has suggested almost every channel under the sun. I actually don't believe anyone has ever told me about Dark Journalist. And what's so crazy is somebody with 112,000 subscribers will go totally unknown to me, or vice versa. He might not know who I am.
Yeah.
Because they hide everything.
Yeah. And it's nothing. It's just factual, to the point, historical. I don't know. Just check it out.
Well, I will make sure to do so.
Can I add a few more points, or do you want to drop me?
Well, we're about 2 minutes over, so if you can sum it up in about 35 seconds, then yes.
All right, so I'll just leave it with this. The last caller asked, where do we start and where do we stop? For the Marfoogle fam, I would just leave it at this. We start with prepping our family. We start with taking the advice, the EMP Shield, things like that. Food, water, the basic stuff. And we stop when we've educated those that we love around us. Not saying that we all have to be on the same page, but the basic facts, the truth, is incontrovertible. Malice may attack it. Ignorance may deride it. But in the end, there it is. It's called the truth. And that's where we stop. And I'll leave it at that. Thank you.
Well, Shane, thank you so much for calling in. Again, if you want to check out the channel he suggested, it will be on marfooglenews.com. Shane, it was a pleasure to meet you, and to have you on again would be a pleasure, all right? Thank you. Have a good night. All right, and then, again, for me, I also personally believe that there is a huge understatement. If you are new here or if you have not yet, this is the time of the show where I tell you about EMP Shield. Again, I truly believe that this could possibly save lives. If you do not know what an electromagnetic pulse is, you should. The DHS, Department of Homeland Security, told us over 2 years ago to have 6 months to a year of food and water due to the possibility of a massive EMP or even a solar CME, a natural kind Carrington event type event that would knock out our grid here. Now, this applies to pretty much anywhere in the world, really. Again, but the EMP Shield company actually has worked with DHS, DOD, and with the DEMSO Texas team protecting the Texas grid. This can actually protect your device, your generator, your home, your RV, your ham radio, your solar system, anything that has to do with electricity. They probably have a device for it. You can go to marfooglenews.com/EMP if you would like to purchase one. Not only will you get $50 off per device, but you'll also help our channel. Even if you have to go around us, do it. Because I think that anybody and everybody, there is no downside to this besides the cost. Now, when it comes to cost, if you do not or cannot afford this, again, right now, there is still a contest going on. I highly recommend we try to get them to do as many contests as possible because we know that obviously the more that go out, the better. You have multiple ways to enter, including daily bonus entries at marfooglenews.com/contest. We are actually running this with INL and Stephen Benoon. Again, you can go over and check it out. One of the easy entries, I think, is just to go over and check him out. So, again, marfooglenews.com/contest. Thank you guys for helping us. You are our backbone. We do not have a multi-channel network. We are on our own. So, you guys, seriously, thank you.
Feed the haters to the alligators. Your way or the highway, see you later. B.O.D. is the homie and Mr. Vader. If it wasn't for you, I would never made it. Whole city's covered by the cremated. Now they listen to what we were saying. Doesn't matter if the manufacturer or created. But now,